Welcome everyone to another Bachata Rockstar video. This time we're going over Star Realms, the new frontiers. Very excited, super pumped. Literally just got the physical set of cards a few days ago. Played 10 games approximately. So early analysis, but card reveal. You get to see every card, know what they're about, hear my thoughts on each card. Here we go, let's get into it. Gonna be a while because about 60 cards, and you know me, I like to jibba jabba. So, feel free to skip ahead if you want to find your favorite cards or whatever. That being said, numero uno, capture outpost. Draw a card, then discard a card. It's a 3-but outpost for 3 mana. Love this card. I think it's very good. Very similar to the Orbital platform, but in that one, you discard a card first to then draw a card. It has 4 health, but it's not an outpost. I think this card is actually superior to it. Getting to draw the card first and then discarding a card is so much better, because what if you don't have a card you want to discard? There's been, not that many times, but a few times where I've been like, oh, I'm out of cards now. The platform just sits there. This card will always be able to get you a card. Now, obviously, you got to plan it so you have a card that you want to discard, but it's much better to draw a card first than discard a card. And you also get the choice. Right, so if you start with 5 cards, you draw a card, you now have 6, then you can figure out the 6th worst card to throw away. Whereas before, you would have to have a hand of 5, figure out the 5th worst card to throw away, and then hopefully you draw something. This way you know what you've drawn, and you can make the best choice out of the 6. Plus, it's an outpost versus it being a base. Yes, it will get killed faster, but I think this protects your face a little better. I think this card is superior to the Orbital platform, and I think it's a very good card overall. Within the Frontier set, it's just a solid buy. Face protection, card draw, and then discarding a card, that's fine, And it actually mitigates the need for scrap a lot of the time. You'll find a lot of cards in here are actually making scrap a little less strong, and the scrap cards themselves don't scrap hand or discard pile. I don't think any of them do, honestly. Maybe like 1 or 2, but you'll see that's a thing coming up. So all in all, solid card. I give it an 8 out of 10. I'm definitely playing it. And coming up next, we have the defense system. 4 trade, outpost of 5. It's a red card, automatically deals 2 damage, and allies to deal 2 damage. The War World of Red? Maybe. It's nice to have damage. It's nice to have a card that allies. 5 bucks pretty good for only 4 trade. It's not flashy, but it's serviceable. It does the job. Gives you defense. It gives you damage. If you build in a red deck, it's even better. Solid card. I don't know. I mean, are you gonna? What other 4-drops are you gonna buy it over though? Is the real question. You're basically buying this if you're like, I'm gonna build some sort of base deck, or I'm gonna build some sort of scrap deck. Some sort of red deck. I wouldn't, the nice part about this card though, it has, because it's so simple, it has a lot of uses. And so it's one of those cards where you're like, just buy it. Goodbye. It's defensive, it has a little bit of defense, a little bit of attack. It's versatile, It's not one of those things where you're like, I need to absolutely build a red deck. Obviously, it becomes more effective if you have some reds to go along with it, but, you're really buying it just for the defense and the 2 damage. You're not buying it because it's like, if I combo. It's not like War World where you're like, I kind of need it to combo in order for it to be good. Because otherwise it just soaks 4 and deals 3. You want it to soak 4 and deal 7. This one, 2 versus 4, not a huge deal, And so that's why, and this one's a little cheaper, but it has more defense. So it's called Defense System, obviously, for a reason. So I think it's a good card. I think it's a solid card, and I love its versatility. 7 out of 10. Frontier Runner, 1 mana, 1 trade costing Trade Federation, gives you a 2 trade and 2 heal. Thumbs up, I like it. Problem with this card though is it doesn't scrap out, so it's gonna be a kind of a dead card later on in the game. It's a very nice early game buy, right? It extends the game a little bit longer with its 2 heal. It gives you 2 trade right away, and you only pay 1 trade to get the 2 trade, so you're ramping your trade a lot better. That being said, it's one of those cards where like I'm gonna have to buy some scrap to get rid of it later. So early game very good, late game pretty bad. So I'm gonna give it like a 6 out of 10. I think it's solid. I'm not I'm not mad if I have it, but it's very reminiscent of like Federation Shuttle, where you're just like, oh shit, why do I even have this in the late game? At least that heals for 4 potentially. This only heals for 2. It's like, much rather have storage silo. Light Cruiser. Whoo, sexy card. So, 3 trade to buy, Star Empire card, 4 damage, target opponent discards a card, very much like Imperial Frigate. And then allies for 2 damage, also very much like Imperial Frigate. But the difference is, with that one, you could scrap it to draw a card. With this one, you double ally yellow to draw a card. So, you're trading the scrap ability to get a draw card ability with 2 yellows. So obviously this is good. This is one of those cards where like I want to build a yellow deck. And so I think it's a little bit less versatile in that sense, to where you really want to have the yellows. And because it sort of is asking you to build a very specific deck, I don't think it's very versatile. And it's a card I may end up passing up a lot of the time. Now, it's still a good chunk of damage for 3 trade. You know, it doesn't make your opponent's card. So those are all good, but it's a weighted card unless you have other yellow cards to go with it, which allows you to draw the card. If you can get this card draw off, it's really powerful. But again, you're going to have to build a very, very specific colored deck to make this card worth it. So a lot of times, I think I'm going to find myself passing on this card to buy other 3-drop cards. Something like the, like the gunship or the first base that we saw might be a better buy because they're just more versatile and you can use them more. So, 6 out of 10, I think it's pretty good. Having the ability to scrap on the Imperial Frigate was so strong because you could buy it in a deck that didn't really have yellows and then just chuck it and draw another card. Who cares? No, you didn't really lose anything by having it. It essentially was a free card. This one is always going to be weighted unless you draw that card, and that requires 2 yellows. So you need a very specific deck to make it as good as the Imperial Frigate. But, in and of itself, especially in this set, very strong because there's so many really nice cheap yellow bases and you can combo them together. So again, you have to build a very specific deck, but I like the card. 6 out of 10. Nanobots Swarmer, 8 cost 8 cost red card, deals 5 damage, draws 2 cards. You may scrap up to 2 cards in your hand or discard pile. Oh, sexy. Oh, sexy. A lot of people have been comparing this to the Arc. I wrote a small article on why Nanobots Swarmer is actually better than the Arc and why it should cost 8. But the main thrust is that you draw the cards first, then you scrap. A lot of times with the Arc, especially in the late game, you run out of cards that you want to scrap, or you end up only scrapping 1. Or they're in your hand, and you don't really want to scrap them. So that ends up just being 5 damage. This always gets you the card draw. Then you can scrap. You don't have to scrap anymore. A card that says, deal 5 damage, draw 2 cards, is very powerful. And it's still very powerful in the late game. Whereas the Arc in the late game, a lot of times you just kind of wanted to... It became useless. It's just 5 damage. And so you're like, oh, let me destroy a base with it or something. Let me just get rid of it. And it kind of sucks because it's like, why do you want to get rid of a card that's so powerful? And this one, you don't have to get rid of the card. You can just keep it. And it makes your deck super efficient. Very, very fast. Is it better than Brain World? I don't know. It's more offensive than Brain World, right? Brain World, the idea is maybe Brain World sticks around for another turn, and then your opponent is just fucked. Whereas obviously this card is only going to stick around until you draw it again at the ship. I would say they're about equivalent. Just being able to shoot 5 damage to your opponent's face and draw 2 cards is really good. Brain World suffered the same problem as the Arc, where in the late game it just became a base and that's it, and you never used it again. Whereas Nanobot Swarm is always going to be good. So I think that's why I like it. And it definitely should cost 8. 10 out of 10 card. One of the best cards in the set. Repairman. 4 trade, Machine Cult. 3 trade, or put a base from your discard pile on top of your deck. And then add allies to track up a card in your hand or discard pile. You know, when I first saw this card, I didn't think it was really that good. I'm like, 3 trade, yay. You know, I think I'd rather have the patrol mech so I can deal damage or get trade. But my god, being able to put a base on top of your deck after it's just been destroyed is so good. Because you know you're like, all right, I'm going to have a base. I'm going to be protected. I'm effectively healing myself for 4, 5, 6, whatever the base costs. So, like, that is so good. And then being able to combo it and get a discard, or just, hey, I need trade to buy the base to then top deck. Super versatile card. Really good. You would buy this card even if you had no other reds in your deck. It's that good. It's that powerful. I love the versatility. Love the strength. It's excellent within the Frontier set. It's really excellent in all the other sets, especially with bases and fleets and stuff like that. Fucking fantastic. 9 out of 10. Excellent card. Well worth the format. Outland Station. 3 trade Federation ship for it's a base for 4 HP base, and you get 1 trade or 3 healing, and you can scrap this to draw a card. So very reminiscent of not Border Fort, Trading Post, right? Trading Post had for Outpost, and this is not an Outpost. That one you could scrap for 3. This one you scrap to draw a card, which I would argue is probably better. And this heals for 3 or 1, whereas that one was 1 or 1. And so what you did is you gave up a little bit of healing to have the guaranteed outpost out there. So I think that's a fair trade. And because, like I said, because this is a base, you know, you set an outpost in front of this, and you're getting 3 heal, 3 heal, 3 heal, 3 heal over and over and over again. You know, and then if you don't need it, or it's last, you get it in your hand, and you're like, fuck, I just need a little bit more damage to kill my opponent. Well, you just scrap it and draw a card again. And especially in the late game, that's much better than just getting 3 damage. So I think this is significantly better than Trading Post. I think it's a very good card. It works in every deck. I wish it had a little more health. But for 3 trade, that's something you can buy on turn 1, even if you went first. And it's going to be difficult to kill, especially if you can get another outpost in front of it. And then you're just getting that extra trade, getting that extra healing, delaying the game, allowing you to get those big bombs. It's a good card. It's a solid card. It's one of those cards I want to buy. Because of the scrap to draw a card, it's good at all phases in the game. 8 out of 10. Love the card. Jammin' Terminal. 5 trade. Star Empire base. 2 damage. Target opponent discards a card. That's big. And it's a 6 health base. Wow. Doesn't seem that flashy, but for 5 trade, this is really good. It's going to be really hard to kill, for 1. 2, you combo this with fighter base, you combo this with other discards, and man, it becomes relatively easy to get the mythical 5-card discard. You know, so I think this card's going to be really good. It's an excellent addition to any yellow deck. And the thing is, too, it doesn't need the combo. It's not like fucking Royal Readout where it has to combo, or Firebase where it has to combo. You just get the discard right away, and that's really powerful. You got this card, your opponent is starting with 4 cards. You're getting ahead on cards. You're getting card advantage. It's a really great card. Like I said, not that flashy, but incredibly strong. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for sure. This is one of those buys where I will buy this over a lot of other 5-drops. Because it's going to go off a bunch. 6 health is a ton to have to deal into a base. And it's not a base. It's not an outpost, it's a base. So you can stick fighter base in front of this. And then you've got 11 fucking health that you need to get through to destroy both of them. Otherwise, you're discarding 2 cards per turn. Fuck. Yellow base strategy is fucking strong in this set. Integration Port. 3 trade. It's a red base. It's a 5 outpost, and it gets you 1. So very similar to Battle Station. Whereas that one you could scrap to get 5 damage, this one you get 1 trade. And I would say that Battle Station is significantly better than this card. Now, this card does give you the trade, it's nice, and then hopefully you can use it to do other stuff. But being able to scrap for 5 damage versus this card, which is purely defensive, in the late game, this is kind of shitty. You know, you don't have that dual option, that dual threat. and you're just getting one trade, who cares? A lot of times I'm not even using that trade. So early game, it's fine. It's a fine buy. Later on in the game, you're probably going to regret that you bought it. I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 10. Not, it's one of those things where it's like, if I got a spare 3 mana, I'm probably going to buy it, but a lot of times you're going to regret having it in the late game. Plasma Bot, 2 trade, 3 damage, scrap a card in your hand, allies for 2 more. So you notice that the red cards in this game, for the most part, have lost their dual scrap ability, as in from hand and discard pile, but they've gained more damage. I don't know if that's better. See, the crazy part is BattleBot, right, is 1 trade, and then you get 2 and 2 scrap from hand. This is 3 and 2 scrap from hand. For an extra trade, I don't know if that's worth it. I feel like I need more damage. I don't know. It's this weird. It's that weird spot where like 3.5, like 4 damage would be too much, but 3 doesn't seem like enough. I don't know. I think they could have flipped it and gone 2 damage, scrap in your hand, 3 damage, ally, and then maybe made this like I don't know. It's pretty much the same. It's just I don't know if this card warrants the cost. It's weird to say that. It's not a bad card. Yes, it's a scrapper, and it's a scrap in hand, so it's a little more valuable than a discard scrap because you should always have something in your hand. The first game that we played, I had a card that only scrapped from the discard pile, and I drew it 4 times in my opening fucking hand, and it was very annoying. But obviously, that's not always going to happen. That's just sort of bad RNG in that sense, which shouldn't devalue the other card, and it shouldn't devalue this card. So, solid card, it's good, and you can always scrap this later to get it out of the way. It's fine. It does its job. For 2 trade, it's fine. I give it a 7. You're probably gonna pick it up and just get your scrap train rolling, but like, it does have a lack of diversity, and it feels like it should do a little more damage. Reclamation Station. Scrap a card in your discard pile. Scrap this card to gain 2 damage for each of your cards that you scrap this turn, including this one. So it's an outpost. It costs 6. It only scraps in your discard pile. I'm not a fan of this card. I mean, it's nice, but what if I don't have a discard pile? And then I would scrap 1 card and then scrap my Reclamation Station to deal 4 damage. Hopefully I've scrapped other cards. I wonder if it counts like Explorers. That'd be kind of cool. If that scrap mechanic counts. And I have a feeling it doesn't. I think they mean actual scrap. Not just like, oh, I scrapped something from hand. Have some more damage. Fucking, what is it? The Incinerator doesn't work that way. And I have a feeling this card doesn't work that way. So, most of the time you're only going to get 4 damage, and maybe that's worth it to kill. Yeah, it's a 6 outpost, but like, 6 trade? Ugh. And it just scraps my discard pile? Hopefully you get multiple uses out of this. But like I said, I'm finding I have overvalued the discard pile scrap. Just because most of the time you have it, but sometimes you don't, and then this card just sits there and does fucking nothing. 5 out of 10, still a card worth buying, but I would definitely look at other options, especially if there's other 6-drops out there. Compared to other 6-drops, it's pretty bad. This should probably be a 5-drop. Burrower, 3 trade, 5 damage, allies draw a card, scrap it to acquire a card of cost 4 or less for free. I heart this card. Probably my favorite blob of the set. Well, I mean, there's so many great blobs. But, wow, what a card. I mean, look at all the shit it does. First of all, 5 damage. Fantastic. Second of all, allies to draw a card. Fucking fantastic. That's great. Potentially an unweighted card. But even if it doesn't draw a card, you can just scrap it and upgrade and get a 4-cost card instead of a 3-cost card. So it actually, this is a term for Magic, it mana ramps you for a turn. It just gives you free stuff. So now, you can turn this 3-cost card into a 4-cost card. Fuck, that's great. This is spectacular. 10 out of 10. So good. Just see this, buy it, don't look back, be happy you bought it. Like, even if you don't have a Blob deck, it's good, because you can just drop it for 5 and then upgrade it to something else. Even if you trade it for another 3-cost card, that's still pretty good. Right? Like, that's fucking fantastic, dude. I love cards like this. Federation Cruiser. 5-drop. Deals 5, heals 4, and then allies to deal 2 more and heal 2 more. So potentially a 7 damage, 6 heal, a 13-point swing if it allies. Great. And even if it doesn't, it's a 9-point swing. It's still pretty good. I feel like the what is it? Fuck. Trading something? I don't know. It's in the core set. It deals 4 damage, it heals for 4, and then allies draw a card. I think that card's better. Having a card draw, potential for a card draw is better than just getting 2 heal, 2 damage. That being said, still a really good card. You know, it's still 2 ways. You know, it's still a 9-point swing, like I said. So, you know, but healing is a little bit less valuable than damage. That being said, it's a good card. 5 trade, I'll pick it up. You know, you're not mad having it in your deck. It's just, it's weighted. That's the problem. It's not getting you an additional card. It's taking up a card slot. And yeah, it's doing a lot of powerful stuff, but I wish it had a card draw. And I'm not saying 5 is an appropriate cost. You know what I'm saying? It's a good card. I'm glad I have it. But a lot of the power of these 2-way cards is in the additional card draw too. Fucking like Peacekeeper. Whoo, damn. 6 damage, 6 healing, no matter what, and potentially a card draw. Fucking hey, that's good. Right? This card, it's 5 and 4, which is really nice. And then it upgrades to another 2 and 2. Like, I want a little more from my allied ability, but still a solid card, still worth buying. 7 and 10. Frontier Hawk. Ooh, I love this card. 3 damage, draw a card, then discard a card. Fucking A. Free cycle. Right? It allows you to control your draws, which I really like. If you're trying to buy something, you can draw, look at your hand and say, see you later, Viper. Right? If you're trying to do damage, you can draw, look at something and say, see you later, Scout. Again, mitigating the need for scrap. Scrap is not as important because all these yellow cards have these really nice draw first, discard second mechanic, which I love, which is so much more powerful than discard first, draw second. And it's a 1-cost card, right? That's so good. It's so good. Like, even in the late game, this is good because then it allows you to cycle through your options. Now, sometimes you'll be throwing away cards that you kind of wish you could keep, but that does mean that the card that you drew has upgraded you. So it's 3 damage. It gets through your deck faster, and that's the important thing. We're cycling. You get access to your resources faster. Fantastic card. I want to give it a 10. No. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. For 1-cost card, it does so much. 10 out of 10. I love it. 10 out of 10. Fucking fantastic. Snap this card up. It's never a bad buy. Federation Battleship. Goosh. 7 damage. Or 7-cost card. 5 damage. 5 heal. Auto draw card. Allies to destroy target base. Scraps to heal 10. Kind of would rather just keep it most of the time. The scrap, I don't want to say the scrap is unimportant because, you know, maybe you're down to like 2 health and then you heal for 5 and then heal for 10 and they get you back in the game. Yay, but it sucks because you don't have your Federation Battleship, and because this automatically draws a card, it's a weightless card, and I would rather, the vast majority of the time would want to just keep it. Destroys the base. So good. So good. 5 and 5, it's a 10-point swing. Love it. Perfectly costed card. You know, 5 damage isn't that much, but getting the 5 heal behind that is good. It's worth 5 heal is worth about 2 to 3 damage 2 to 4 damage, depending upon how you look at it. More like 2 to 3. So it's equivalent to the Dreadnoughts. Getting Destroy Base is fantastic. And like I said, getting that auto card draw is so big. You know, if you got 7 trade, you just snap this card up and say, thank you very much. My deck is that much better. Thumbs up. And hey, you know what? The 10 heal may come in handy at some point. But again, not really the important part of the card. 9 out of 10. Fantastic all the way. Ion Station. 5 cost card. Gets you 2 trade. Allies to get you 1 more trade. And then allies again to get you 4 and 4. Ooh! So, again, one of those cards that sort of requires you to be building a blue deck. If your deck is blue, thumbs up. That's great. You know, and you're going to get a ton of value out of this card. That being said, if you don't have a blue deck, it's not a bad buy. Like, getting 2 trade and a 5 outpost to protect your face, purely defensive in that sense, but still quite good. And it's not outside of the range of 5 cards, right? If you can get 5 scouts and you can get this card, this could stay up for a long time and get you a lot of value in the early game. So it's not, you know, those 6 cost cards are difficult because you can't buy them on the first 2 draws, right? You can't buy them on deck 1. With a 5 cost card, potentially you could buy this on deck 1 and then it comes back and then your opponent a lot of times doesn't have 5 damage to get through it and it sits there and then now you're getting 6s and 7s all day long. I think it's a really good card. And because if you're building a blue deck, it doesn't punish you for having a bunch of blues. A lot of times you get punished for having a bunch of blues because all you have is heal and trade, whereas this one you get heal, trade, and damage if you have multiple blues out there. So potentially you could be healing for 10, even 15, but you're also dealing an additional 4 plus whatever damage your other cards have. Now you're getting 20, 30-point swings at a time, you know, and you're going to grind out this game. I love this card. I think it's really good. 8 out of 10. Maybe even a 9 out of 10. Hammerhead. Ooh, sexy! Sexy! 3 damage, draw a card. Target opponent discards a card. Allies to draw a card, then discard a card. Fucking hell, that's a lot of shit. That's a lot of shit. I was talking online to some people, and they're like, how much would you pay for a card that just said draw 2 cards? And I was like, probably about 4. I think 4 trade is good. Well, guess what? This card basically does that. You draw a card, your opponent discards a card. So now you're 2 cards ahead. You get to deal 3 damage on top of that. So it's weightless. It cycles itself. Then, if it allies, you draw another card and discard a card, effectively giving you 2 card draws. That's really good. That's really good. Man, I mean, arguably that could be just as good, if not better, than the heavy cruiser. And I think that card is a 10 out of 10. You know, so I think this card is equivalent. I'd give this a 10 too. Like, you see this card, just snap it up and don't look back and be happy about it, you know? Infested Moon. 6 trade, Blob base, automatically deals 4. Allies to draw a card and double allies to draw another card. Oh, sick, this card is bae! I would give this an 11 out of 10 if I could. Oh my god. So, right off the bat, 4 damage on a base is a lot. And 5 health, I wish it had a little more, but it's a base, not an outpost. So you could put an outpost in front of it, block with this. This card has the potential to stay around for a long time and has the potential to draw you a shit ton of cards. This is a blob engine. You get this with even 1 other blob, and this is a fucking great card. You get it with a bunch of other blobs, oh my god. Second game that we played, this card enabled a fucking 25-point combo off like 5 cards. Like, it was crazy. Just badoop, badoop, blah, blah, draw, blam, dead. I made him discard 2 cards, and he still got to 6 cards of overall. 1 was a scout, so it doesn't really matter. But he got to 6 cards overall and dropped fucking 20-something on my ass. And I'm just like, how did you do that off 3 cards? And it's like, Infested Moon, bro. Excellent card. Love the card. If it had 1 more health, it'd be a 10 out of 10. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 right now. Neural Nexus. 7 trade. 6-butt outpost. Scrap a card in your hand or discard pile and gain attack equal to its cost. And then it combos to draw a card. There's a lot of things going on in this. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that seems like a lot. It seems overcosted. And then I realized being able to scrap in your hand or discard pile is really strong, right? Just the junkyard is 6 trade, 5 health outpost, and scraps anywhere. So this one, and that one costs 6. So this is only 1 trade more. You get damage from the scrap, potentially, if you scrap a card that's not a Scatter or Viper. You have to ally it to card draw. So if you're building a scrap deck, this really generates a lot of extra cards a lot of the time. It's a 6-butt outpost, so it's going to protect you quite a bit. 6 HP outpost, I say butt. Butt means basically the butt on the card. So it's got 6 health. It's got a nice thick booty. Sort of Star Realms parlance there. And I found this card to be really effective. Really good. Having that 2-way scrap, getting that extra damage so you can start scrapping your scrappers. You know, this card is meant to scrap scrappers, right? Scrap a scrapper, get 2 damage, or scrap a scrapper, get 4 damage, whatever it is. Or just scrap other cards that you don't need, right? If they're in your discard pile, who fucking cares? You don't need them. You may never see them again. So fucking scrap them and get rid of them. And being able to draw a card, super strong, super powerful, 10 out of 10. This is an excellent base. Excellent base. It doesn't seem like it at first, but in practice, wow, does this card shine. Patrol boat. I'm on a boat, motherfucker, on a boat, motherfucker, on a boat. 3 trade, 4 damage, 3 heal, allies for 2 heal. Thumbs up. This is everything you wanted to. I wish it had some trade on it. Be nice. Wouldn't mind some trade. But hey, you know what? 7-point swing, potentially a 9-point swing. Fucking A. That's solid in a 3-cost card. And you notice this is a theme now, where it's deal and heal. You know, Trade Federation is dealing damage and healing themselves and comboing with other heals. Really nice, cheap, excellent card for just getting ahead, staying ahead of your opponent. It's a nice card in the late game because it helps you come back, right? It, like I said, deals and heals, deals and heals. You can't. It's good at any part of the game. Thumbs up. Nice and cheap, easy to buy. Sometimes you'll buy this and buy something else with it too. This and a cutter. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Dealing 8 damage, healing for fucking 9. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Just that little 2-card combo alone is so sick. But this card with other blue cards is just great. Great, great card. Thumbs up. 8 out of 10. The Stinger. 3 damage, or 1 cost Blob. Deals 3 damage, combos to deal 3 damage, and scraps for 1. Thumbs up. I love this card. It's really good. Being able to get rid of it. Yeah, you're getting rid of it for trade. It kind of sucks. I think I like Cargobot a lot better because it scraps for damage. Obviously, gives you more trade. But, you know, you can just keep this card in your deck, deal some damage if you're building a Blob deck. It's fine. You know, it triggers. And you can always get rid of it. And that's what's nice. Being able to just get rid of these cheap cards by itself without needing a scrapper behind it is awesome. And hey, 3 damage, ain't nothing to snipe at. Potentially 6 damage, nothing to snipe at. Thumbs up, good card. I give it a 7 out of 10. I'm buying it a lot of the time. I'm buying it in decks that may not even be Blob decks. So 8 out of 10, actually. Versatile. Mobile Market. Ooh, this is my bay. 4-cost Federation Outpost. Always gives you 2 trade. And then you can scrap it to gain 2 health and draw a card. At the end of the turn, this goes back into your discard pile. So this is a brand new mechanic that we've never seen. It scraps, so you can only use it once, but then when it's done, you put it in your discard pile so you get it again. So in the early game, it's fantastic. It blocks your face. It gives you 2 trade. It allies with blues. Thumbs up all around. Allowing you to buy big bombs. Allowing you to keep yourself alive. But then later on, you can just use it as auto card draw. Just heal 2 and draw cards. Right? Or you can just leave it up as an outpost. You know, you're like, fuck, I'm going to die soon. I need all the protection I can get. Here's a 4-cost outpost. Thumbs up. That's good too. So in every situation, this card is good. It's never a bad buy. Always good. So 10 out of 10. Huge card. Every single situation, it's good. Every single deck, you're going to want it, right? Yes, it's defensive, so maybe if it deals some damage, that's great. But like I said, it just cycles itself. So you can always just acquire the damage later. And maybe that 2 heal is just enough to keep you alive. Excellent card. Fantastic card. This is one of those cards where I'm almost like, wow, it's like factioned, which is crazy. It feels like a Merc Cruiser kind of thing, right? Like an unallied base ability. You know, I can see that happening. But hey, and it's fucking blue, so thumbs up. You know, don't underestimate the ability to ally stuff. Yeah, 10 out of 10 for sure. The Crusher. 3 trade, 6 damage, allies to give you 2 trade. So 6 damage right off the bat, pretty good. Getting 2 trade, good. That's good too. It's nice in the early game because it can deal damage and then allow you to buy other stuff if you combo with a few blobs. This is one of those weird cards where it's kind of an engine in that sense, where you're like, oh shit, like I can also buy stuff with this card. Thumbs up. It's weighted, which sucks. Can't get rid of it. It doesn't have the trade row control of something like a Ravager. You know, it doesn't have the automatic 3 trade scrap of a Blob wheel or something like that. But 6 damage is fucking good. You know, and there's so many like Blob card draw shit that's going on now. I like this card. I think it's really solid. I give it an 8 out of 10. Imperial flagships. 8 cost Star Empire card. 7 damage, draw 2 cards, allies, target player discards a card. Fan-fucking-tastic. So, if you recall, the original Dreadnought is 7 damage, draw a card, scrap for 5. This is 7 damage, draw 2 cards. You cannot overestimate the value of drawing 2 cards. And then, it also furthers your yellow strategy and gets your opponent to discard a card. So potentially, this 1 card is worth 3 cards overall. 2 card draws for yourself, and then 1 minus card for your opponent. Plus, you get 7 damage on top of that. Ah! Wow. What a card. Now, the only drawback is that it doesn't go directly into your hand if you play Star Empire cards. Unlike the Emperor's Dreadnought, which is bellissimo. But aside from that, I mean, that's not really a drawback, you know, because that's the only card that has that ability aside from the Colony Siege ship and the fucking Warning Bacon. So, I mean, much like every other card, it has to go in your discard pile, but, you know, is that really a drawback? Like, come on, man. You know, imagine Mega Hauler into this. Oh, fuck. You know, imagine top decking this and then triggering a draw, and then fucking, oh my goodness. Like, just, it's so good. This card has some beef on it. 10 out of 10. The Hive Queen. 7 drop Blob card. 7 damage, draw a card. Allies to do 3. Double allies to deal 3 more. Wow. Bam, bam, bam. 3 punches on this card. Holy shit. Potentially 13 damage in 1 card. Wow. Combine this card with the fucking Infested Moon. Get multiple draws. Get 14 damage. Holy shit. This card is bang. So good. So good. So, weightless, obviously, because you get to draw a card, and then potentially just gives you a bunch of extra damage for fucking no reason, just because it's nice, and it's like, hey, you know what, I've got some extra guns here, I'll just deal some more damage. Love it. Fantastic. You know, I mean, what more could you want? Maybe more card draw, I guess? I don't know. Fuck. And the double allied ability, so good. So good. 3 cards with this card, and you're dropping fucking 20 plus on this dude. Yeah, this is a finisher. 10 out of 10. Some very excellent cards in this deck. Enforcer Mech. 5 damage. You may scrap a card in your hand or discard pile. Allies to destroy target base. Scrap to draw a card. That's really good. For 5? Wow. So this is equivalent to the oh, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the card. I want to say I don't know. It's a 5-cost card. It deals 6, and then allies to destroy a base, but scraps in hand or discard pile. So even though this is 1 less damage, I would argue this card is better. It has all the same abilities, but being able to draw a card off of it later on in the late game makes it powerful at all phases in the game. I have found a lot of times that the other card, it's 6 damage, which is nice, but it just kind of, it's weighted. It sits there. And once you scrap down, I almost don't want it anymore. You know, I'd rather have something else that draws me a card. And this one does. So once you're done scrapping, just fucking chuck this thing and get something else. You know, so this card is good at all phases of the game. I love its versatility. 8 out of 10. No, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Cargo Craft. Star Empire card. 2 trade to acquire. 2 gives you 2 trade. Target opponent discards a card, and it allies to deal 4 damage. So, again, one of those cards where you're going to want to have other yellows, but getting that fucking, that discard train rolling with this thing, so it's still pretty good in the late game because it causes those discards. You know, discards get better as time goes on. It gets better as the game gets later because your opponent's deck becomes more efficient, and then you're forcing them to discard cards that are really good. And you get an extra 4 damage, you get a discard. All that for 2 trade. Value Town, baby. Love this card. 8 out of 10. Orbital Shuttle. It's a 2 trade. Trade Federation. Gets you 3 trade immediately, and then if you have 2 or more bases in play, gain 4 healing and draw a card. So, 3 trade is nothing to snipe at. That being said, the Federation Shuttle in the vanilla set gave you 2 trade and 3 heal automatically, and then the same effect of 2 bases in play, draw a card. So, base heavy decks obviously would be really great with this card. But it's fine even if you don't have bases. 3 trade is nothing to snipe at, and that's going to allow you to get the big bombs and probably buy some of those big bases to make this card better. It's difficult to pull off its effect. If you have 2 bases in play and you're playing this card, you're probably winning. So it's one of those cards where it's kind of a win more card. Like, I'm probably going to win anyway, and this is just allowing me to really crush my opponent. That being said, it's Star Realms, so the comeback potential for anybody's deck is large, and so being able to sort of close out a game has a lot of value. So that being said, like I said, just getting 3 trade for 2 trade is pretty fantastic. And then once you pick this card up again, you're gonna like it again. And you know, you can always try to scrap it with your scrappers later on if you get scrappers. But that's the one thing. Like I said, it's one of those cards, and this is very typical of blue, where it's pure trade. It's non-damage, and so that's sort of its drawback. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's a nice card. I'll pick it up over a good portion of other 2-drops, but if I see a nice 2-drop scrapper out there, I may just take that instead. Long Hauler. We're in it for the long haul. 4 trade. Trade Federation ship to get you 3 trade, and then allies to get you 2 more trade, and then you can put the next base you acquire this turn on top of your deck to scrap this Long Hauler. So, what is this card meant to do? You play this card, you play some other freaking little dinky rinky-dink blue card, you get Factory World, Capital World, Brain World, whatever the heck it is. You scrap it, you put it immediately on top of your deck, and now you get a super powerful 8-drop, 7-drop base coming into play the very next turn, or maybe even this turn if you trigger a card draw. That's what this card is all about. Now, because you can scrap it, it's fantastic. I love this card. I love this card. Now, again, it doesn't do any damage. The whole point is not to like, oh man, I want to have multiple. I want to use this card over and over and over again. It's not like a damage card, right? It's not like a base. The whole point is to get a fucking massive base and then just chuck this stupid thing and get rid of it. Because you don't need it anymore. It's a one-shotter card. It's very much like Trade Wheel, where you buy it and then you're like, okay, I'm banking 3 trade for later. This one, you're banking potentially 5 trade for later, and you get to top deck a base. Totally worth the 4 trade, you know. And so that's the thing. That was the other thing with Freighter. Like if you bought it and you didn't ally it's just 4 trade. It just sort of sits there, it takes up a slot. But when it allied it and you could put ships on top of your deck, it was uber powerful. This card I think is actually equivalent and or potentially even more powerful, because even if you only use the 3, you don't need the 5, but even if you only use the 3 and you put the base on top of your deck, it's great, and it gets rid of itself. The fucking trade hauler? Is that what? Fuck, drawing a blank. Whatever. The 4 cost vanilla one. The 4 that gets you 4, and then you top deck a ship. You always had it. You couldn't get rid of it. This card you can get rid of, and being able to get rid of cards like this allows you to get to your damage cards and get to those bases that you've purchased. Fantastic card. 9 out of 10. Destroyer Bot. 5 damage. You may scrap a card in your discard pile. This was the card I was talking about earlier, where I kept drawing it in my opening hand, and it kept dealing 5 damage and doing nothing else, and it was annoying the shit out of me. But it's a red card, and like a lot of the times you are going to draw it when you have a discard pile, so it is going to help in that sense. But unlike the Repair Bot, you can't scrap it and get rid of it. So you need another scrapper to get rid of this. And it's 5 damage, so maybe you don't want to get rid of it? I don't know. It's a good card. It's fairly costed. It's just one of those things where, like, I don't know how often... You're going to buy it, and you're going to find it's going to dick you over enough times to where you're going to get annoyed at the card. And you may get burned by it and end up not buying it. But in the long run, it's a good card, and you're going to like it. And it's going to benefit you more times than it doesn't benefit you. But when it doesn't benefit you, it's very memorable. And so you're far more likely to go, fuck this stupid card, I actually think it's good. You know? Sometimes the drawbacks go unseen on cards. And then you realize later on, you're like, oh, actually, this card's kind of bad. Or this card is really fucking me up late game or whatever. This card, like, you can see the drawbacks right away. So it affects the way you think about the card. But it's still a good card. It's still a 6.5 out of 10. I'm still going to buy it. It's still a scrapper. It still deals damage, you know. Warp Gate Cruiser. Ooh, this card is big. Discard any number of cards and gain 2 damage for each. Draw a card, and then draw a card again if you have another yellow card. So we're throwing all of our stupid Scouts and Vipers away. We're getting more damage for them than we normally would get. We're getting a card draw, and then potentially we're getting a second card draw. So it's variable damage. Maybe I don't want to discard my cards. That's okay. I get a card draw regardless. So this card is weightless and potentially negative weightless. And if I'm building a really nice yellow deck, this card is excellent. But even if you're not building a yellow deck, this card is excellent. Being able to draw that card and not taking up a slot in your deck is so big. And then potentially being able to just throw away all your shit cards and get extra damage for them is really big. You know, because they're cards that you wouldn't use anyway. How many times in the late game do you draw a hand with like 3 Scouts in it and you're just like, well, these do nothing. I wish I didn't have them. So you notice that yellow is now becoming a force on its own and is really mitigating the need for scrap. And so a lot of games that we were playing, I ended up not buying a whole lot of scrap, but I was buying a lot of these cards where I could draw, discard, draw, discard, draw, discard. And you know, it's almost like it's like a scry effect where you're just like, oh, do I want this? Do I want this? Do I want this? But then you get to draw the card. You know, scry, you would look at it and say, put it back on my deck. This, you get to draw the card, put it in your hand, and go, do I want it or not? you know. And here, you just get the card draw. So this card is never bad. It's always good. And potentially could be really good. Could turn a shit hand into a good hand. But it turns a good hand into an even better hand because you get 2 card draws potentially. So, really excellent card. Thumbs up. 10 out of 10. Unique. Very unique, interesting card. Blob Miner. 2-cost Blob ship. Gets you 3 trade. You may scrap a card in the trade row, and then it scraps itself for 2 damage. I love the self-scrapping ability. I've talked about it a lot already. 3 trade for 2 trade is fantastic. Scrapping a card in the trade row is great because you can get rid of shit you don't want, and maybe you flip something that you can buy with this 3 trade, and having an additional 3 trade is really good in 1 card because maybe you flip an 8-cost card and this is the card that allows you to buy it. And then when you don't want it anymore, you just scrap it and you get rid of it. Fucking A. All good things. Really well designed. Card, fantastic. I love this card. 9 out of 10. Conversion Yard. 5-cost 5-cost machine cult. 4 outpost. But I can scrap a card in my hand. If I do, I gain 4 damage. So this is nice because not only can you scrap scouts and vipers, but you can scrap things that don't deal 4 damage and get 4 damage. So potentially it's a 4 and a 4, right? 4 damage and then 4 outposts. So potentially it's an 8-point swing every time, but you're still scrapping cards. In a weird way, you may want to buy cards to later on scrap with this card. You know, maybe some of your weaker draw card effects or other cards you could use and just scrap this and get rid of it. So 5 costs, you could buy it in the early game. 4 outposts, I wish that was more. That seems a little low to me, but being able to deal the damage is pretty good. I think I like this better than... What was that other base? Whatever. It's a good card. It's solid. I'll buy it. 6 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10. Builderbot! Yeah, we're building. Fixed it, Felix! So, 1 cost machine cult card, 1 trade, and then scrap a card in your discard pile, and then it allies to get you 1 more, and then it scraps itself. Usually with scrapper cards, I don't necessarily need the self-scrap thing as much, because sometimes you can use your other scrappers to scrap this. That being said, much like Repairbot, being able to self-scrap and get that extra damage when you need it is good. Is really nice. My problem with this card is it's only in the discard pile. You only get 1 trade. You have to ally, and then it just gets you another trade. Like, it's like it has to ally to become a repair bot. But it only costs 1, so a lot of times you're just gonna have a spare mana and pick this card up. So I think it's fairly costed. It does what it's supposed to do. You know, it is a scrap. You know, I mean, arguably this is worse than TradeBot, but TradeBot couldn't get rid of itself. So, it's a good card. I'll buy it. 6 out of 10. Siege Fortress. Ooh, it's Warworld times 2. Warworld on roids. 7 trade, 5 immediate damage, allies for 4 extra, 5 cost outpost. Whoo! Oh, yeah, that's sweet. Oh! Ooh, makes me feel good in my belly. 3 damage, and this is the crazy part, is not enough to kill most bases. 5 damage is enough to kill all but the strongest of outposts. Obviously, there's some 6 and 7 and 8 cost bases, but for the most part, this card, just dropping this card, allows you to play a base and to kill a base, for the most part. Combos to deal 4 more damage. Warworld is already a fantastic card. This is a fantastic card. It's great in your yellow deck. My only concern is 7 is a lot. It's hard to acquire 7. I wish this was a 6 outpost. If this was a 6 outpost, it'd be fantastic. It'd be a 10 out of 10. Because it's a 5 outpost, I don't know if the extra 2 damage and 1 health on the outpost is worth 2 extra trade. If this was a 6 cost card and it was 4 and 4, fine. If this was a 7 cost card and had a 6 butt outpost, fine. This combination of effects I feel like is a little bit below the power level of what I would want for a 7 cost card. That being said, still an excellent card, still a yellow. I'm still buying it. I'm not saying no to this to just dropping 5 damage, 10-point swings, potentially 14-point swings. So, still an excellent card. 8 out of 10. Nesting Ground, 4 trade, Blob base. Gives me 2 trade, allies to give me 4 damage, and it's a 5 butt base. Good. I think I like Bioformer better. That one has 3 damage and scraps to get you 3. Trade. This one gets you the trade right away. And allies for 4. So that's not insignificant. That's pretty good. I think this is significantly better than Trade Wheel. And it only costs 1 more trade. But this gets you 2 trade and 4 damage, where that got you 1 trade and 2 damage. So I think for only 1 trade more to buy this card, getting an extra trade and getting 2 extra damage is really good. I think it's it's fairly costed. It's good in the early game. It's pretty good in the late game, because you'll probably have blobs by that point, and you'll be able to deal 4 damage with this card. So yeah, I like this card a lot, and I like it fits a nice slot in most decks. And it's versatile because you're going to want that trade in the early game no matter what kind of deck you're building. If you're not building a blob deck, it's still pretty good. But obviously significantly better than a blob deck. 7.5 out of 10. Transit Nexus, 8 cost, Trade Federation base. Has a 6 butt base. Deals 3, trade 4, heal 5. Underwhelming. I think this is one of the worst 8 cost bases. Hey, 3, 4, 5. That's a lot of shit. That does a lot of shit. But by the time I can afford a Transit Nexus, do I really need trade anymore? Nah. So this is essentially giving me 3 damage and healing me for 5 on a 6 cost outpost. I'd almost rather have fucking Loyal Colony. Because I can acquire that easier. I'm more likely to get 7 than I am to get 8. I don't know. Deal 3, heal 5. Hey, that's great. And then potentially getting it over and over again. That's great. And this is potentially also a 11. Deal 3, heal for 11 because he can't leave this out. He has to deal 6 into this. He has to kill it. Plus, you can put other bases in front of it. So, I mean, it's not terrible. I'm gonna take it, but am I taking it over other 8 drops? Probably not. I don't think there's a single 8 drop that I would take this over, and that includes Fleet HQ. I might take Fleet HQ over this. What's good about it though is it's likely to live, and it's likely to continue to have its effect over and over and over again. So, like I said, if you can put an outpost in front of this, it's fantastic. It's just this combination of stats. It's not 8. It doesn't feel like an 8 drop. It doesn't feel like it does enough. Maybe if I crunch the numbers more, I would like it more. But I'm just underwhelmed. I'm underwhelmed. If it was an 8 base, oh my god, this would be fantastic. Because then it's like, fuck, dude has to sink so much damage to get rid of this card. 6 is too low. 6 is too low. That's what makes Fleet HQ really strong, is it's dealing a little bit extra damage every turn, sometimes a lot of extra damage every turn, but then it's also soaking 8. This is only soaking 6, but yeah, it heals for 5. See what I mean? It's like, it's good. I mean, I think it actually is appropriately costed. maybe it should be 7. But I don't know if it was 4. If it was 4, 5, 6, or if it was 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 6, right? 4 damage, 4 trade, 6 healing. I would love it. I'd be through the moon. Like it's just a little too low. Anyway, still a card worth buying, but mediocre. 4.5 out of 10. Patrol boat, we already went over. Light cruiser, we already went over. Blob Alpha. Very self-explanatory. 6 damage. Blob card deals 10. So it's weighted. So it's not as fancy as some of the other cards, but just, hey, 10 damage, 1 card. Super efficient. I'm buying it. What am I going to do? Say no? Say no to 10 damage and 1 card? Fuck that, dude. 20% of your opponent's health in 1 shot? Boom. 6 ain't much, man. Especially in a blob deck, this card is going to be good. I love it. Why not? 8 out of 10. Pulverizer. Sorry for the more picture quality. 5 cost blob ship. And it says scrap a card in the trade row and gain attack equal to its cost, and then it allies to draw a card. So this kind of reminds me of the Parasite, but in this case you're scrapping cards in the trade row and drawing a card allied versus acquiring a card or dealing 6 damage. I think the Parasite is better because oftentimes I'm going to want to deal 6 damage versus just scrapping a card in the trade row. But if you're scrapping 8, 7, 6 drops, like, that's really good. You know, you're getting rid of a card that your opponent might want. You're dealing damage equivalent to that, and then potentially getting a card draw. It's a good card. I'm gonna buy it a lot. 8 out of 10. I like this. The trade row control and damage aspect of it is really nice. The Gate Ship. 6 trade. Acquire a ship or base of 6 or less for free, and put it on top of your deck. Allies to heal 5. Alright, that's pretty good. Very similar to the Mega Hauler, which healed for 5 and drew you a card. Just being able to top deck shit with this card. There's a lot of... Blue has a not insignificant amount of card draw. And it's... You'd think it was slow, right? Like, you're sitting here just like, oh, it doesn't deal any damage, doesn't do anything. I have to ally to get the healing. But it's getting you 6 cost bases and ships and putting it on top of your deck. So your next draw is always going to be, or for the most part, is going to be pretty fantastic each time. You know, all you need is 1 card that triggers a draw to make this card fantastic. Really good card. Definitely worth buying. Yeah, I like it. 8 out of 10. What can I say? You know, thumbs up. If nothing else, it makes your next hand really good. Defense system, we already went over. Farm Ship. Ooh, another one of my favorite cards. So it's 4 trade to get you 3 trade, but then draw a card, discard a card, and you can scrap it to deal 4 damage. So it cycles, sort of. It gets you 3 trade. Great. It's Star Empire Ship. Fantastic. You know, so this is just almost free trade. You know, and potentially drawing you into more trade. You know, maybe you're throwing a scout away, but you're drawing something that has 2 trade. So potentially it even trade ramps. And then if you just need an extra 4 damage, you can scrap it and go. So it gets rid of itself when it's no longer needed. So when you don't need trade anymore, not only does this get you a free card draw and then a discard, but it also gets you 4 damage. Thumbs up. 10 out of 10. I love this card. It's one of my favorite cards in the set. Orbital Shuttle we already talked about. Swarm Cluster, the 8-drop blob base. Damage. 8 butt. Oh shit. 8 butt base, not outpost. Put an outpost in front of it. And this card is living forever. Right? Oh my god. 5 damage. Allies for 3. Allies for another 3. This one base is potentially dropping 11 damage on your ass. And then it takes 8 to kill it. Wow. Wow. Thumbs up. Oh god. Power. power, power. Obviously, you're going to have to build a Blob deck to get all of its power. That being said, 8 trade to get 5 damage and then an 8-point base, that's still really good. A lot of times I've bought Blob World at the beginning of the game and it just sat out there and I just punched my opponent in the face for 5 every fucking turn and he just couldn't kill it. You know? So this is one of those cards that has the potential to live for a long time and drop 5, 8, 11 damage on your opponent every turn. Your opponent is just gonna be dead very soon with this card. Love it. 9 out of 10. And I think that is it. Yep. Oh, no. We got a few more here. So Captured Outpost we already did. Moonworm Hatchling, another one of my favorite cards. So it's 4 trade, and then you can get 3 trade or destroy target base. Very nice. When you're trying to make that last punch through, this card is still good. Allies to deal 3, double allies to deal 3 more. So potentially this is dealing 6 damage and destroying a base, which would make it the equivalent of a fucking missile neck without the card draw. Alright, so I'd probably pay 5 for that card. So, fucking A. In a 4-cost card, like, wow, that's really good. And obviously, blobs are accentuating blobs. So, thumbs up. I love this card. I think it's really good. Yeah, 9 out of 10. I use it. This card was very effective a lot of the time. Orbital Gun Platform. 4 trade to get you 4 outposts that deals 3 damage and scraps to give you 3 trade. I like that ability to upgrade it into the other stronger 7-cost bases. So if you remember, Trade Wheel is 3 trade, 1 damage, scrap to get you 3, 5-cost base. This is 3 damage, 4-cost outpost, which I would argue is a little better, scraps to get you 3. I love it. Right? It's deceptively strong. Its ability to ramp up to something really strong and just basically become 3 damage, scrap to get me 3 trade is great, but maybe sometimes it sits out there for a while and just starts dealing damage. Like, really versatile. One of those cards that I'm happy to have in the early game, and the late game I can just get rid of it, or I can protect my face and deal 3 damage. 7-point swing? Thanks. Scrap to get 3 trade and upgrade to an even better base? Thanks. Only costs 4, so I can buy it on turn 1 or 2? Thanks! I'll take it. Yeah. Like I said, it's better than Trade Wheel in my opinion. I would argue it's even better. It's better than Bioformer. It's the Bioformer of the Star Empire. Because it's an outpost. I love having the outpost and just being able to block. Like, it's awesome. Yeah, 8 out of 10. Outland Station we already talked about. Spike Cluster. 2 trade, deals 2 damage, allies to get you 1, and it's a 3-cost outpost. I like this card less than others. If I'm buying a card like this in the early game, I really want to get the trade. You know, I think Trade Wheel and even Stellar Reef is better than this card. It doesn't scrap itself, so it's always going to be there. Yeah, it deals 2 damage, which is great, but a lot of times you don't even want to draw it in the early game. It only has 3 HP, so it dies pretty easily. 5-point swing for 2 is fine, but and you'd rather deal 2 damage than heal 2, so potentially I guess this is better than Storage Silo, but Storage Silo furthers your blue strategy. Yeah, it's a base. So, I mean, it's appropriately costed. I don't like this combo of stats. I don't know. I'm underwhelmed, and it's one of those cards that I'm going to probably pass up a lot of the time. You know, in the early game, I'm not getting trade. In the late game, it doesn't deal enough damage. Right? So there's a lot of situations where I'd kind of rather just not have it. So 4 out of 10. Alrighty, look at Capture Outpost, look at the defense system, look at the Frontier Runner. Yep, okay, so we're back to the beginning. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for chilling and going through this review process with me. I really appreciate it. Get out there. Haven't bought it yet. It should be available in stores pretty soon. Everybody with a Kickstarter should have gotten it by now. It's fun. I love it. The storage box is great. The command decks, whoa, are super fun to play with. Every game becomes different. Yeah. This set is just fantastic. Well worth the wait. So yeah, get out there, play some Star Realms, y'all. Keep learning, keep rocking, and the Rockstar will see you later.